So you saw what David talked about. A lot of that was performance. That's a big part of what we perceive as that app data gap, data not getting there fast enough. More importantly, data not getting there at all with availability disruptions and so on. Of course, there's a lot we do within InfoSight to prevent that. And it's really has driven, if you take a look back, 4 years ago now almost, 4 or 5 years ago, back to 2013 when we were at clearly at 5 nines across the arrays and all versions of software, to today where we're up above 6 nines, which now represents a little less than 25 seconds of unplanned downtime per year. And even just over the past 2 years when we last published our availability number on the web with 5 nines and a 7, going from 5 nines and a 7 up to where we're at today, that's about a 4 times improvement in availability. So something from around 100 seconds back with the 5 nines and a 7 per year to less than 25 nowadays. And all of that while increasing our install base from 2013 to now by over 900%. So it's a remarkable accomplishment and a real testament to the hardware architecture that we have with all of the redundant components and triple parity RAID, and Nimble OS, obviously, that governs all of that high availability architecture with failover non-disruptively and so on and so forth, really driving that availability number. And again, we feel InfoSight having a very prominent role in driving that number by understanding when we have a disruption to data service at one customer, the kinds of things we do to make sure that that doesn't happen to the next guy.
How many systems is that in the 10,000 customers?
I don't know if we're talking about that number, but it's
11,000.
It's more than 10,000.
Very good.
Almost done. All right.
Okay, I gave you the opportunity to say it was more than 11,000.
As far as I'm going. So really just looking at availability, we hear availability claims by other vendors and so on. So we just wanted to do a quick comparison of how we think we stack up on some of those comparable methodologies for publishing those numbers. And so we often hear other vendors publishing numbers that are theoretical in nature, things that they compute based on hardware availability and annual failure rates and so on and so forth. Versus ourselves, this is absolutely measured numbers.
Well, we saw how well that theoretical stuff worked last week.
What's that?
We saw how well that theoretical stuff
right.
worked last week. S3 will be back up to 5 nines in 7 years.
Yeah, that's not easy to recover. It's hard to get up and it's very easy to go down, just like a golf handicap. So so it is over 6 nines measured availability. We calculate this every night on every single array. We audit those numbers, we dig in. We obviously are paying very close maniacal attention to driving that number across the install base. Another thing you often see is that a customer or a vendor will say that you'll get N number of nines if you buy this hardware, or it only applies to our latest models or our latest version of software. Again, the number
that's been running for 6 months
and advertise, it's everything since 2013. So the array that literally was first installed at beta that I installed is still part of the calculation here 7 years later. Every array is, and every version of software. And then the other kind of trickery they do is often saying that we'll guarantee that 6 nines or whatever availability so long as you have this premium service contract. Now, in my mind, a premium service contract doesn't do a whole lot to drive availability. It might drive reaction when you're down, but you're already down. And maybe there's some preventative measure, but usually the way you want to do preventative measures are the way we're doing it, where we are absolutely preventing people from hitting issues that we know by doing things like blacklisting, proactive cases with prescriptive recommendations to get you avoiding an issue before it happens in the first place. Having that happen after the fact because you have a higher level of service offering doesn't help matters. All right, so really what are we doing to drive all of this, and how is our measured availability keep getting better? So I mean, there's several factors here that I'll go through quickly. So it's really all about that applied machine learning. Again, as we learn from one customer, we are trying everything we can to prevent that at the next guy. As David mentioned, we do a lot of interesting things from the machine learning and informed teaching of the system based on cases that we have seen. So if we've seen an escalation around this issue, maybe it's a performance issue, that feeds the model so that we can understand if other customers are going to fall into that issue before they have it happen. And we understand what that impact and that it matters to that customer. And so we can take proactive measures.
The 7,200 thousandths of a percent
7,200.
in measured availability, is that like you sold an array to Mars and they won't let you have is that the,
Which one are you talking about now?
the measured availability?
Yeah.
Right?
That's-
You're missing 72 ten thousandths of 1%.
That's what went down, right?
Is that the percentage of arrays the customer allows you to collect analytic data from?
No. That basically what that means is that if you take all of the arrays that we're collecting information from, and you measure the downtime that
that's
we've
the
seen in a
uptime.
year,
Since time began.
that's
Okay.
They were up as an aggregate that percentage of time in that year.
Right.
Yep. So again, preventing known issues from being experienced by others. Again, it's a very key element to everything that we do. And then solving storage problems, not just storage problems, but beyond storage. And I gave that example earlier where there was the risk of these 100 customers of having an all pass down that had nothing to do with our array per se. It was really triggered by configuration on that converged infrastructure, and really being proactive and telling customers about that. And again, in that particular case, involving our engineering partners and technology partners to work together to make sure that those customers were taken care of, and if they called them or
What's
if they
your
called us.
adoption rate on your new software releases and stuff like that? How long does it take to get 50% penetration or 75% penetration in the 10,000 customers?
God, 50%, and I'm going sort of anecdotally, I don't have the number in my head, but just sort of from my past experience, I would say, once a release goes GA and we're opening the gates, we do a slow roll to begin with, because we want to have a measured release to the fields in case we're seeing issues. We don't want everybody to hit it. But once it's GA and we're generally announcing it, to get to 50% penetration, I would say it's 6 to 8 weeks or something, maybe that order, 8 weeks, 3 months, 2-3 months to get up to that 40-50%. Yeah, and I was instructed to give you the answer to the question that maybe you weren't going to ask this time, but I'll let the cat out of the bag. But we always get the question, what is the when are people doing the software updates? We gave that, during the time of day and so on. We gave that number several years ago, so I'd have an update for you on that. I think last year we said it was around 53% of our customer arrays that do software updates during prime-time business hours, Monday to Friday. Latest release, which is our 3.x GA stream, it's 57%. So more and more confidence as we go forward. And still an absolutely incredible number, and very, it's another thing that we're very proud of, that customers have that confidence that they can do updates during business hours. We're not espousing that everybody go do that. A lot of customers have controls on these sorts of things where they can only do them, after business hours or on weekends. But the thing I always say to that is that if you are going to do that software update on a Saturday, go ahead and schedule your son's soccer game. You're going to make that too. You're not going to get disrupted. Basically, if you see the software update in your Array browser in the management console, and you want to download and update it, we're pretty sure it's going to work.
What's a predictive health signature?
So these are the signatures that we embed into InfoSight to do all of our proactive case creation to either avoid problems before they've been hit, so predicting those, or ones more proactively where they maybe have been hit, where we're providing a prescriptive answer how to make sure you don't hit it again. So there's about 800 or so of those rules in the engine today. All right, I think I'm getting shut down. One thing I will talk about as the last thing, it kind of came up as a question, and the question that you had asked was right on target to what we're thinking as our future. So the traditional model is a very frustrating customer experience. You know, not a lot of data science or machine learning involved in that traditional support model. You know, for us, we see ourselves as being very much on autopilot today, where we are very prescriptive in making recommendations to you to avoid those problems. Where we see that going is a self-managing infrastructure, okay, where when we do make a recommendation, we can actually have you either hit a button to take that action or let us take that for you. So you can imagine, let's say you as a customer are our largest online retail customer, and it's Christmas time, and we see one of these performance things that may impact you, and if we can tell a recommendation that would avoid that from impacting you, we would make that change automatically, and we would send you a notice that just said we optimized your infrastructure for performance during your seasonal workload, and that's what you would get from us. And that's the vision that we have with a self-managed infrastructure. Good. And I'll leave you with that. Thank you very much.